Hello and welcome back. It is Sunday, January 18th, 2026. And looking back at the last year or two, I have to admit, I feel like I've had a bit of tunnel vision.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, like pretty much everyone else, I've been obsessed with all the shiny stuff, the generative AI models, the chatbots, the video generators.
Hmm.
We've spent so much time talking about who has the fastest chip or the smartest model. But it feels like while we were all watching the fireworks, the ground completely shifted underneath us.
Yeah, it is a very, very fair assessment. While the public was watching the, let's call it the AI hype train, the business world, and specifically the people writing the massive checks, they shifted their attention to something much less sexy.
But way more important.
Arguably, way more important and way more expensive.
Significantly more expensive. And that's really what triggered this deep dive today. I saw a headline about the sheer amount of money pouring into cybersecurity acquisitions, and I honestly thought it was a typo.
I don't blame you.
We are seeing a level of consolidation that we just haven't seen in tech in a long, long time.
Hmm.
So the mission today is to figure out why. Why are all these companies scrambling to buy up security firms?
And it's not just growth in the traditional sense. It's not just, let's get bigger.
Right, because usually when we talk about M&A, it's about synergy or cutting costs, maybe entering a new market. But the sources we've got today, and we have a whole stack from market reports by BCG and RSM Global to some really dense academic research.
Yeah, from Tiger.
They all paint a very different picture. They're talking about survival.
Exactly. The term that keeps popping up again and again in the literature is strategic de-risking.
Which just sounds like corporate speak for we are terrified.
In a way, it is. I mean, we live in a world where this digital transformation has opened up these incredible new doors for businesses. But those exact same doors are being used by attackers. So the spending isn't optional anymore.
So let's start with the context. It's early 2026. I saw a stat about the European market that said tech M&A jumped 75% in value last year.
75%. Yeah.
That is a massive spike. What's driving that? Is it just pent-up demand or something?
It's the realization that the building phase is over and the deployment phase has begun. Think about 2023, 2024. That was the arms race, right? Everyone was trying to build the best AI model. It was all about capability.
Right. Can it write a poem? Can it code a website for me?
Precisely. But now, in 2026, companies are trying to actually deploy these tools into their real businesses, into their HR systems, their financial grids, their customer databases.
Oh.
And they're realizing you simply cannot deploy enterprise-grade AI on a flimsy security foundation.
So it's like they built the race car and now they realize they don't have a track to drive it on.
Or, maybe more accurately, they built the race car and realize that the second they drive it out of the garage, someone is going to hijack it.
Okay.
That's where this infrastructure mandate comes in. The focus has shifted from make it smart to make it safe.
That makes sense in theory, but when I look at the actual money-changing hands, the numbers are they're insane. We're not talking about buying small startups for their talent anymore.
No, the era of the acqui-hire,
Yeah.
buying a company just to get their engineers, that's largely fading. Now it's about buying infrastructure.
Let's get into the receipts then. There were two deals recently that really, they blew my mind. First, Alphabet, Google's parent company, dropping $32 billion on Wiz. $32 billion.
It is a staggering amount.
Google has arguably the best engineers on the planet. Why spend $32 billion to buy a cloud security firm? Couldn't they just build it themselves?
They could, but they don't have the time. That $32 billion, that's the price of speed.
Right.
The sources point out that Google needed cross-cloud security visibility, and they needed it immediately. They needed a way to secure data, not just on their own servers, but everywhere. If they spent 3 years building it, they'd lose the market.
So they're buying time?
They're buying time, and they're buying certainty. And then you look at the other big one, Palo Alto Networks acquiring CyberArk.
$25.1 billion for that one.
Right. And the rationale there was building an end-to-end security platform tailored for AI. That's the key distinction. They weren't just buying a firewall. They were buying a system specifically designed to protect these new AI workloads.
It just feels like a massive pivot. A few years ago, if a CEO spent $25 billion, they'd have to be promising shareholders just massive growth, like this will double our revenue. But this feels different. This feels like defensive spending.
That's exactly where that concept of strategic de-risking comes back in. We have this report in the source stack, structural rebirth. And it explicitly says that strategic de-risking has replaced cost optimization as the core driver of M&A.
Strategic de-risking. It is such a dry term for something so dramatic.
Well, think of it like this. In the past, you bought a company to make your boat go faster. Now you're buying a company because you realized your boat has a massive hole in the hull and you're in shark-infested waters.
Okay, yeah.
You are not paying $25 billion to go faster. You're paying it so you don't sink.
Because if you launch some massive AI system and it gets hijacked, or it leaks all your customer data.
It's not just a bad quarter. It could be an existential threat. You lose the entire business. This infrastructure mandate means security is no longer an IT problem. It's a board-level survival metric.
This brings us to the why behind all the fear. Why are they so scared? We have this academic paper in our stack from Tiger, and it talks about balancing AI innovation and cybersecurity. And honestly, it reads a bit like a horror story for IT directors.
It really does. It highlights the whole Trojan horse aspect of digital transformation.
Trojan horse is a pretty strong image.
But it fits. We all want the shiny new AI tools. We want the AI-enhanced ERP systems, the automated CRMs that predict what our customers want. But the research points out that when you bring those tools inside your walls, you create unprecedented opportunities for attackers.
What specifically makes them so dangerous? Is it just that the code is new and, buggy?
It's often what they call the integration nightmare. So imagine you have a legacy system, some old database from 2010 that runs your payroll.
Okay, it's dusty, but it works.
It's dusty, it's old, but it works. Now, you try to plug a state-of-the-art 2026 AI model into that old system.
I'm going to guess they don't speak the same language.
Not at all. And that friction creates cracks. The old systems become the weak link in the chain. You're basically putting a Ferrari engine into a Model T Ford. Something is going to break.
And when it breaks, the bad guys get in.
Exactly. But it's not just the tech. It's the people. The Tiger paper really highlights this partner ecosystem risk.
What does that mean?
Well, think about how modern businesses work, right? You don't do everything yourself. You have vendors, suppliers, external sales teams. When you adopt these AI platforms, you awfully have to give those partners access to your system.
So I'm giving the keys to my house to the plumber, the electrician, and the delivery guy.
And you're just hoping they don't lose them or make copies or just leave the door unlocked. That's privilege misuse. You're opening a back door for efficiency, but you can't always control who walks through it.
And I'm guessing this leads to data leakage.
Massive leakage.
Right.
We see this all the time with API integrations.
Okay, hold on. Let's pause on API integrations. I hear that term constantly. In plain English, how does an API cause a data leak?
Think of an API as a pipe that connects two different pools of water. One pool is your secure customer data. The other pool is the public cloud or maybe a third-party app. If you don't seal that pipe perfectly, if the valves on it aren't checking who is opening them, data just flows right out.
So it's like leaving a window open in a house you just bought.
It's worse than that. It's like installing a doggy door for your pet, but making it big enough for a burglar and then forgetting to lock it. The data doesn't just leak, it gets siphoned off.
That is terrifying. And there's another layer to this risk that came up in one of the data site sources. They use the term inherited risk.
Yes, this is absolutely crucial for anyone looking at these mergers.
It sounds like a genetic condition or something.
In a corporate sense, it is. When Google buys Wiz or Palo Alto buys CyberArk, they're not just buying the technology. They are buying the company's history. They're buying every bad password, every unpatched server.
Every sloppy piece of code.
Every sloppy piece of code that company has ever written.
So if the company you buy has a security hole,
you just bought that security hole, and now it's your security hole. The source notes that if an acquired asset has weak security, it lowers the security standard for the entire entity. It's the classic weakest link theory.
Right.
You can spend billions on your own security, buy one sloppy company, and suddenly your fortress has a back door made of cardboard.
Which explains why the due diligence process checking under the hood before you buy has changed so much. But before we get to how they fix it, I want to scare myself a little more. What are the new threats in 2026? We know about hackers stealing credit cards. Is that still the main thing?
It's evolved. The Global Private Markets predictions for 2026 highlights a few very specific, very modern fears. The top one, deepfakes.
Deepfakes. It feels like we went from funny videos of Tom Cruise to corporate crisis really, really fast.
Incredibly fast. We are not just talking about fake news anymore. We are talking about business email compromise on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you are a finance director. You get a request to transfer $5 million for a secret acquisition.
Okay.
You're skeptical. So you hop on a Zoom call with your CEO, you see his face, you hear his voice, he tells you it's urgent, so you send money.
And it wasn't him.
It was not him. It was a real-time AI-generated deepfake. That is the reality companies are facing right now. The sources say corporates are loading up on tools specifically to detect these attacks.
So we need AI to catch the AI.
We do. Identity verification is becoming a massive industry. You need cryptographic proof that the person on the screen is a human being and not, a render.
That is dystopian.
It is. And it ties into another concept mentioned in the predictions, data stewardship.
That sounds like a really boring job title, to be honest. Data steward.
It might sound boring, but it's absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm.
If your company runs on AI, data is your fuel. If attackers can poison that data, if they can inject bad information or alter records, your AI starts making bad decisions. Or even if your own internal data is just messy, the AI fails.
So a data steward is kind of like the quality control inspector for the fuel.
Exactly. Companies are realizing that data quality isn't just an IT ticket anymore. It's a governance issue. You need specific people responsible for keeping that data clean and safe.
I want to touch on one more buzzword before we move on because the Tiger research made a huge deal out of it. Zero trust.
Ah, yes, the gold standard.
I hear it all the time. We need a zero trust architecture. What does that actually look like in practice? Is it just being paranoid?
It's being professional and paranoid. So think of the old way of security, like a castle. You have a moat, you have big walls. If someone has a badge and gets inside the castle, we trust them. They can walk into any room they want.
Okay, makes sense.
Zero trust says the castle is compromised. It assumes the bad guys are already inside.
Okay, so they're in.
They're in. So even if you are in the building, even if you have a badge, every single time you try to open a door, I'm going to check your ID. I'm going to check if you really need to be in that room.
So continuous verification.
Continuous. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO or an intern, or if you're at Starbucks or in the HQ. The system verifies your identity and your device constantly. The research says it is the only way to handle the dynamic requirements of modern work without getting hacked.
It sounds exhausting, but I guess if you just spent $32 billion, you want to make sure the doors are locked. So let's pivot to the solution. We know the risks are high. We know the price tags are astronomical. How are companies actually checking for this stuff before they sign the deal? Because you can't just take their word for it.
This is where the story gets really interesting. We're seeing a complete overhaul of due diligence. And ironically, the tool they're using to fix the problem is, well, it's AI.
AI watching AI again.
We have sources that detail this. In the old days, you'd have a team of lawyers and accountants looking at spreadsheets. Maybe an IT guy would go look at the server room.
Kick the tires, check the wiring.
Right. Now, they're using AI tools to scan a target company's entire cyber hygiene. The AI reviews code repositories, it reads the change logs, it looks for technical debt.
Okay, I want to drill down on technical debt for a second. We mentioned it earlier, but what is it really?
Imagine you buy a house, but the previous owner never fixed the roof, never updated the electrical, and used duct tape to fix the plumbing. That's debt. It's money you're going to have to spend just to make the house livable.
And in software.
It's just bad code. It's shortcuts taken by developers 5 years ago just to meet a deadline. It's outdated libraries.
And now an AI can see all of that instantly.
That's the game changer. An AI can scan the code and say, hey, this company looks profitable, but 40% of their code is obsolete and vulnerable. It will cost you $50 million to fix this.
That changes the negotiation immediately.
It changes everything. It turns tech from a mysterious black box into a measurable asset. And it's getting even more formal. We saw in the Alert Instincts source that DataSite, which is a huge player in managing these deals, recently achieved ISO IE 42001 certification.
ISO IE 42001. That is a mouthful. Why should a regular listener care about an ISO standard?
Because it's the difference between a vibe and a law. Until now, companies could just say, oh yes, we use responsible AI.
It was just marketing fluff.
Total marketing fluff. But ISO 42001 is a rigorous auditable standard.
So it's like the organic stamp on food. You can't just slap it on. You have to prove it.
Exactly. And for the listener, this matters because it's going to determine who wins and who loses. If a company doesn't have this certification, they might be locked out of government contracts.
Yeah.
They might be considered too risky to acquire.
And then you have the regulators piling on top of that.
Oh, yeah. The EU AI Act, GDPR, these are not suggestions. Deals are being scrutinized for compliance now. If a target company has been playing fast and loose with data privacy, they're a liability. They're just a ticking time bomb of fines.
So if we zoom out and look at this whole picture, we started with $32 billion checks, and we ended up talking about code scanners and ISO certifications. What's the big takeaway here?
I think the takeaway is that the party is over. The Wild West era of digital transformation is done. We are entering the era of the security fortress.
You can't have the digital transformation without the fortress.
You really can't. For years, companies treated security like an insurance policy, something you buy and hope you never need. Now they realize it's the foundation. If you are an investor, you shouldn't just look at a company's growth. You should look at their resilience. If you are an employee, you need to understand that security protocols aren't just annoying hurdles. They are the only thing keeping the company alive.
Which brings us to a final, slightly provocative thought I wanted to run by you. We talked about how AI can now measure technical debt, literally calculating how broken a company's code is before anyone buys it.
Right. It's like an MRI for a company's health.
So think about the lemon law with used cars. You used to be able to sell a car that was about to break down, and the buyer wouldn't know until they drove it off the lot.
Sir?
But now, the buyer has an AI mechanic that scans the car in 5 seconds and says the transmission is dead.
I see where you're going with this.
If machines can now calculate exactly how messy a company's internal plumbing is, what happens to the companies that have been neglecting their maintenance for years?
That is the billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
If the due diligence AI says your code is 60% technical debt, are you even sellable?
Or are you just a toxic asset?
It suggests that maintenance and cyber hygiene aren't just IT chores anymore. They're essentially your company's resale value. If you've been ignoring your updates for 5 years, you might have destroyed your exit strategy.
You might be unsellable.
It might just be unsellable.
A sobering thought for anyone clicking "Remind me later" on that software update this morning.
Indeed. Verify those identities and patch your systems.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Thanks for listening.